The Gentleman, once my least favorite piano, but now I think this is fast becoming a favorite, guys. If you know from earlier videos, my go-to piano was the Sonavox 88 Ensemble, and I still like that piano, but I think this piano is fast becoming a favorite. I said that already, and that's because it is. It's, well, let's just play a little bit of it. And I'm feeling inspired, so I'm going to play a little bit of Lauren Daigle's You Say. So this is a cover, so here we go. And don't worry, I'm not going to sing it. We need to go down for that point, don't we? Anyway, I probably ruined the end there, but you get the idea. It's very, I think, smooth and sort of a woody character to it. It just has that sound that without sustain. So basically, when you first open the Gentleman, I've done a few modifications to it. It sounds, and this is probably why I didn't like it so much, it sounds pretty flat. As I'm going to reload it here. Instruments, Gentleman. Okay. Initially, it sounds like this. Which is a nice sound. Oh, listen to that nice, beautiful sustain. So, honestly, when I first opened this, I thought, well, that's kind of, underwhelming. But there's a lot you can do with it. Starting, well, there's spaces, there's tone, and there's anatomy. So these are the three controls. It's very, very basic looking. But as you dig into it, there's a whole lot more. So one of the things I started doing was I noticed that all these samples were off. So we have here noises. Of course, you have your overtones, your stereo image, your keys, and so far I've just kept it at linear velocity. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on some settings. So here, okay. So at this point, we got the resonances of the pedal. But you can't hear the pedal, so I'm going to turn the pedal on. I think that's about as loud as you will want the pedal to be anyway. And let's see, let's turn on the hammers, because when you play, you want to sort of hear the hammers. So, and then you can adjust all of them. Here's a damper, which is the sound of it switching on and off. So, and then the string resonances. So what think what I did, I turned the sustain pedal. Generally, at least for me, I don't want the sustain pedal to be too loud, because, you know, then I can hear it. And when you're sitting at the piano anyway, you don't want to hear the sustain pedal that much. But so let's see, hammers. Let's think about it. Okay, and I think the rest I left at that. Now, I'm just gonna play with some other settings here, and okay, and then we'll turn back on and we'll listen to it here. And all that detail. I'm going to turn the hammers up a little bit. Because I like that sound, but we don't want them to be too loud. Okay. And of course, as you play louder, you don't hear as much of the sound. So if we go something like, going back to my first example song. Ah. Okay, so not the world's best pianist, but you get the idea. So if I were to do, let's do my favorite test one. This is aria. So you can hear the details, and it even sounds more because I've added with the overtones. I can turn those off. These are all kind of like subtle tweaks, but they really add. And then you have the tone section where you can, there's an EQ. This is not an in-depth thing. This is just like a first review, a lightweight review. And then there's the, we can add so to hear it without that. You hear it more in the lower notes. So I'm going for a more natural tone right now, so I'm going to turn that off. But what I am going to turn on is this compressor. And this is really nice because usually with my pianos I would do a sort of... I'm going to pick the tape compressor because I like the sound of tape compression. What I would usually do is add a compressor to the piano, because piano sounds just, to my ears anyway, they sound better with some kind of compression. So you keep the dynamics, but the volume is a little more even. So we go here. So that's a very rich tone. And listen to that sustain, it's still going. It's still going. I actually let up on it because it's still going. That's the same feeling I get when I sit in front of a real piano, and that's a really nice feeling to have. So obviously it's not a grand piano, so I'm not really expecting grand piano sounds out of it, but I do get the feel of kind of, I grew up playing on a spinet piano, and so there's kind of that feel of just sitting in front of the piano and kind of being able to recreate that. Now over here there's spaces, so we could put it in a big space. Let's move that back to middle C. Because I'm going for this at the piano feel, though, I haven't played much with spaces, but you could with just within the interface, without adding any extra plugins like I used to do, you could... Oh, here's distance, so we have size now. You can just add a whole lot of color and tonal shaping to the piano right just inside of the one instrument, and I think that's a very useful and helpful feature. I've been enjoying that. Another thing in the tone is you can have your color can be harder, softer. So if you want to... So even if I'm playing harder, even as I'm playing harder, it still has that soft still has that soft, and I even stopped talking because I feel like it's telling you everything you need to know. Now, you may not want your... Hear him almost shouting over it. You may not want your anatomy sounds to be as loud as I have them, but I feel like when you come to those quiet moments, I like the mechanical noise of pianos. So here's sort of in the middle where it was. You can have it be hard, so like even though I'm playing soft, so that's more for like a... something a little bit more with a little bit more of a, I guess, a pop or a rock tone, which I don't use very much. So I think for me, I like it right in the middle. Because it allows for that expressiveness. I don't know, for me it just allows me to have that expressiveness without being, either too hard or too soft. There are times when you might want it down. Oh, another thing, the lid. We can put the lid down. We can open the lid. Failed jump there. So while it doesn't have the large range of sounds like the Sonivox, well, there's a different purpose to this. This is primarily a piano, and so let's see. Let me add that tonal depth back because I want to. As you can tell, I'm having way too much fun playing it and forgetting what I'm supposed to say about it, right? And if you wanted, you could even go to the EQ and tweak further. You have a three, you have your low, mid, and highs. We can kind of shape the very rarely would you probably want to turn it up that high, but now I can hear the flutter a bit more from the mechanics. But so there's that, and then there's let's see, the dynamic range. You can change like how dynamic it is. So at this point you have to press very hard to get any kind of volume down here. I love that you can hear the wood of the piano in there. I think that was all I wanted to say. I kind of just want to play it and not say anything. So maybe I'll end by doing that. Great piano, lots of possibilities. And not something I'd really looked at because, obviously I'd been into grand pianos. I don't know. I guess wanting to get away from the small piano sound I had, but really, it doesn't really matter what type of piano as long as you get the tone right. And right tone is based on whatever you're trying to do with it. For me, and you know, when I first heard that, I was kind of like, okay, it's okay. But then you start all these sounds. The 88 Ensemble, and I think I will do a comparison between the two of these. It does have your sustain pedal noise, but and your release samples, which we have here. So if you listen really carefully, I may even turn them up. It's the sound of the mechanics letting up, the hammers when you let up, which is not something you would consciously hear necessarily when you're playing a piano. But I think coming from a piano where it didn't have that degree of detail, it just adds another layer having it there, even though you don't necessarily notice it. So anyway, I've probably said a lot more than I needed to say anyway. I'll just play around with it for a little bit. One thing, just to add a little bit, you probably noticed it doesn't, it's the lowest note. Of course, pitch bend doesn't work because it's a piano. Neither does mod, interestingly enough. But yeah, this is The Gentleman.